All right, so we're just going to carry on from where we stopped yesterday. I'm going to go back into Power Query so that we can keep working on our tables. Again, we are working on the Northwind data, which we brought in using the OData feed. A quick recap. So we got a link, a URL for the data. We came to get data and we clicked on this OData feed. The link that we got, we just pasted the link here and okayed it. And that was how it brought us to where we have all these tables. I'm going to go into the Power Query. We saw quite a number of tables and we picked the ones that we believe were relevant to the work at hand. So we picked.
Question, please.
Yes.
When I went into the OData, I couldn't find the date table. So I don't know. I found all the other ones, but I couldn't find the date table.
You are right. The date table was not gotten from there.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I just retained the date table because we are going to need date table at some point.
Okay.
But
so
this
you created it.
We created this. Remember when we used blank query to create this?
Okay.
Let me quickly show you what we did.
Thank you.
So again, I got a table code, which I can share with us, and we used the blank query option.
Okay.
Blank query means the query is blank. Nothing is in it. Okay. And it took us straight to the Power Query where we were before. It's just that now it's created a query that is like it's called blank, it's okay. Empty. So you see there's source here and there's nothing. We can't see nothing here. Okay. So I got the date table code. I copied it from somewhere. I have it saved like in a Word or Notepad. So I just copied that, came to Advanced Editor and pasted the whole code here, and that was how we formed the date table that gave us, the code has been pre-done for us. It's just a matter of copy and paste. That's all you are doing, So we defined what our start date should be, what the end date should be, and it gave us, for example, the first date I put in was 1st of January 2025, and the last date, if I saw this descending, I put the last date to be 30th of December 2026, and it just created each date, to run from that start date to the end. And we had some extras. We had the year, quarter, and so on and so forth, all from the code, which we don't need to worry ourselves about how that was done. Okay, but that was how we formed the date table. The date table was not from our, I'm going to delete that blank query because we don't need that. That was just for illustration purpose. Okay, and that was how we got that date table. So for you to be able to make yours, you can use the method I just showed, and you can do it in another way, which I'll show us as we walk along. Okay, there's, again, the good thing about Power BI is there's always more than one way to perform the same function. So when you are used to it, you just get used to just one way of doing that thing, or you may decide to use as many methods as possible. It's your choice. Okay, so we went into that Northwind and we brought these tables in and we started looking at each table one by one, to clean them and to, sort out data quality issues that we could have, and to make sure that we have the right data types chosen. Also to ensure that we don't have any extra columns that are not necessary for us to bring it in, to bring on board for our report. Okay, that's what we have been doing. We've done the same so we've done that for categories. And
sorry, So for categories, we have only 3 columns. Every other thing was deleted.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So if I go back these steps, okay, when we brought the table in through the navigator, this was what we had. We had these 2 extra columns, picture and products. Now, picture is not compatible with what we have
Sorry,
here.
I'm not trying to bring you back. I understand it. I just wanted to clarify what I have done, that I'm in the right.
No, it's right that you are asking that. I'm glad you are. It shows you are doing the work. So good, good. But yes, we had this extra 2 which we removed because they are not they are not needed. Not here anyway. Okay, and you can see that the step of removing those 2 is recorded as the last step here, where we got rid of those last 2 columns, and these are the ones that we need. And all we needed to do was look further for any other issues which we can't find with this table. We also explained about this category ID being a primary key when it is on categories table. Okay, so the concept of keys, primary key, foreign key, and how they help us to form relationships within our data model. We explained that yesterday as well. Okay, we went on to employees table. I believe we looked through. If we look at the steps that are recorded here, we brought the table from source. We chose employees table with navigation, change type. That is, we changed some data types that were not conforming. If you remember, we changed the date table here. It was what we had. If I come a step ahead or on top, this was what we had. We had this sort of complicated date, time, and time zone data type, which does not really, it doesn't look readily usable, you know. So we decided to change those to ordinary dates, which is what is recorded in the next step there. And we could see the rest of the data types we looked through, they are fine. You know, again, there are tables that we don't need that are here, and those were removed in this last step. I left the photo path to see if at all we can use them to form a table where if you click on each of the links, it takes you to outside of Power BI where these links actually go. We did have a good interaction with the table. We see who is reporting to who. Yesterday, we said about what should we do with this null value because this number 2 here is not really reporting to anybody according to what this data set is telling us. We can decide to put a code there rather than leave it as null, to put a code there that they report to no one and maybe put 0 there. You know, we can decide to do that. Okay, since null is what we have here, and since we are retaining the data type as 1, 2, 3, that's whole number. Okay, so I can decide to right click on here and look for how to replace value. That's one thing we haven't seen yet. One of the things you can do within your Power Query is you can replace certain values with something else. For example, I'm about to replace this null with 0. There's 2 ways I could do that. I can right click on top here and look for replace values, which is this one. Okay, and you can see the icon that's beside it. You are replacing one value for another. There's also replace errors. This time around, we are not replacing errors, we are replacing value, the value null. So it brings this dialog box and it's asking, it's telling us replace one value with another in the selected column. Within this column, we want to replace one value with another. And it's asking on the first box here, what value to find. The value we are finding is null, and it's spelled in small letter. So this is case sensitive. If you do it in capital, it won't find it. So I put the null there the way it's exactly written. What am I replacing it with? I want to replace it with a 0. Okay. And if I okay that automatically changes that to 0 for us. That's one way to do it. And if there were other null values within that column, it would have replaced all of them, you know. So if I don't want to do it like that, I could just click on this itself, the actual null itself, right click. Now, before I do that, can you see, because we have a null value, we have a kind of a broken green bar here. It's not a full bar because it's recognizing that there's a null value here. So we don't have full column all filled up.
We don't have two numbers, numericals, or what would I say?
No, we don't.
We have a mix of text and numbers.
Not necessarily. If this was going to show us that this is a mix of text and numbers, we would have what we call ABC and 1, 2, 3 here.
Oh,
both
okay.
ABC and 1, 2, 3 would be appearing here. That is, that column is finding it difficult to place it. Is it text or is it number? Okay. But right now, null can be figured out as a number on its own. It's like, yes, null is something like blank as well. And that is why it's allowing us to change this data type to 1 to 3 actually. If not, it wouldn't let us do it. It would throw up some error if it's not accepting null as a numeric. So null can pass for within a column, can pass for a numeric as well as a text. It depends. Does that make sense?
Very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I'm going to right click. I was going to show another way to replace values if we don't do it the way we did it previously. And when I right clicked on exactly on null, you see, we have a few options to choose from. It says, do I want to copy it? Do I want to number filter or replace value? Okay, so I want to replace value, and it's already picked that it is null that I'm replacing value for because I right clicked exactly on null, and I'll put the 0 there and okay that. And we have the same result. And can you see
faster
now? Yes.
This one is faster.
Faster. And because I right clicked doesn't mean that it won't change any other null. It would also have changed every other null that it finds there, even if you're just right clicking on one.
That one.
Yes. And what if you observe, we now have full bar here. There's nothing broken here, anymore. Okay. So that is that, except again for the region that we haven't managed to sort out. I have a feeling that and I said it yesterday, that as we walk through the whole other tables, we could have some answers for what these regions is about. So again, yesterday we worked on orders. We talked about other details, orders and other details, And I said about how what we have with these two tables is what you call a parent, whether a parent-child, that is, you have the table on top and one that would seem like it's a child below it, or a header detail situation where you have the table that's the head and another one that's just for showing further details. So it's going to be one of those two scenarios that we can pitch these two under. Okay. And our best bet, of course, would be to merge them, together, So before, we did see how to use the append query when we were talking about the buttons the functions under home, we saw how we have different segments here. Under close, we have close and apply, where you can close this window and bring everything you have done into Power BI. Then we have the new query section, where under that we have new source. If you're bringing a new query or you're making a new query. Query being tables, all these tables are called queries as well while you are in Power Query. So it's either you are bringing it from a new source or from a recent source, or you want to enter it manually, you know, or so that's what this segment is about. Then we have the data sources, where you can manipulate your data source. You can change it. If the data source has changed, you can do different things, edit permissions and stuff. Okay. Then we have the parameters. Again, if you have done anything that's got to do with parameters in your work, this is where you either create new one or manage old one. We haven't really used the parameter function yet. I don't think. Then we have query. Query is where you can refresh the query, can refresh whatever you have here if it's not been refreshed in a while. You can manage where you can delete, duplicate, or reference. Okay. We have the advanced editor, which is the where all the codes, that's all the codes generated when all these steps are put together. This is where they are put together as a code, and we don't have to really concern ourselves with it, although it's good to understand what it is as we journey along in our Power BI knowledge. Okay. And then we have properties. Properties will just be showing you, okay, maybe you want to make a description of what others table is about, you know, to give whoever is looking at this more information about it. Okay, maybe you want to disable it from being loaded, you untick that. All this we can do if we right click, you know, on the actual table itself. So properties is not something I've come to use before, only because whatever is being done there, I can right click and do it on the table itself here. And then we have the manage columns. Okay, so let's say that I've got so very many columns. It's possible to have as much as 50 or more columns within a table, you know, and I'm finding it hard to find a particular column or to get to a particular column. You can come here and where it says choose column, if you click on that down arrow, you get two options. It says choose columns or go to columns. If I choose column, it would be that, okay, I can see the list of all of the columns I have in this table. And if I want to maybe just choose one for whatever reason, I okay that, and it just chooses that particular one for me. Okay, whatever the reason would be that I want to just choose one. Okay, or you can, I click on that again, do the go to column. Okay, so maybe whichever column I was looking for, I scrolled and scrolled and I couldn't find it. Looking at it from this kind of window makes it easier to see. And if I was maybe going to the last column, which is the ship country here, if I click on that and okay that, it just takes me straight to that particular one. So I don't waste time just scrolling up and down and looking for what is not lost. That's how to use the choose column. You can choose and you can just go through. And we have the remove column. You know, we've been doing this, remove columns and remove other columns. That's what you do when you right click. It's also here when I right click on each column, remove column or remove other columns. And we have seen how that works. Okay, remove column, you know, this has been highlighted already. Maybe I want to remove that ship country. I'll just come here and remove it, and it just removes that column. Or if that's not what I want to do, again, this ship region is been chosen. Okay, so if I come to remove columns, I can say remove other columns. That is, keep the one I've highlighted and remove the other ones. And that's exactly what it's going to do for you. Okay, so whatever it is you are trying to achieve will determine which of the two options that you want to use. Then we have the reduce rows section. Under that, we have keep rows, we have remove rows. Okay, so if I click on here, there's quite a few options. Maybe I just want to keep the first 20 or 30 rows of this table, or 10. So let's say I'm keeping the top 10 rows only for whatever reason. Okay, you may come across a data set that requires you to do something like that. You will definitely know that it's there for you to use. Okay, so I'm saying just keep the first 10 rows for me and remove the rest. And that's exactly what it's going to do. We see we only have numbers 1 to 10, the rest are gone. Okay, and if that's not what I want, still under keep rows, says keep bottom rows. Maybe I want to keep only the bottom rows again, the 10 bottom rows. It removes all of the top ones, and these are what you have as the bottom rows. Okay, so that function is there. Keep range of rows. Maybe it's not that straightforward. Okay, maybe the first row I want to keep is row 4, and then specify the range of rows to keep. First row, row 4, number of rows after that, maybe 3 number of rows after that. Let's take note of what we have entered. So I'm saying keep from row 4. This is what we have in row 4, VICTE. And then after that, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so maybe I think if I understand that well, I'm removing 1, 2, 3, the next 3 rows, and keeping number 8 as the next one. Okay, but let's see how that works out. Okay, so it's kept the number 4 as the first row, and after that it's kept only 3 rows. So 2 more rows with the one I specified. Okay, so number of rows to keep 3. So it's the next 2 that it's now keeping, and that's all it is. If I put maybe 5 here, so I'm saying start from the number 4, which is what we have here, and keep 4 more to make everything 5 rows. Let's see if that's what it would. Yes, that's exactly what it has done. So that's how that works. How about remove rows? Okay. Keep rows, remove rows. I think we have done remove rows. We haven't. No, we haven't. So keep rows, we did. Keep range of rows was the last one we did. Now I'm saying keep duplicates. Sometimes I want to check, instead of just removing the duplicates, I actually want to check, do we have duplicates in this row, in this data? Okay, if I say keep duplicates, the table is empty because we don't have any duplicates. And remember we said that others table, each of the other ID should be unique anyway, none must be repeated. So we are right, there's no duplicates within this table. Okay, so that's a way to check. If I go on to other details and do the same thing, let's see if it will find duplicates. Okay, so under keep rows, I'm saying keep duplicates. And it's found so many. All of these are duplicates. Can you see? These are all duplicated. So 102. Okay, I think it's also because I've clicked on the other ID. So it's keeping all the other IDs that are duplicated. I'm just trying to look for a way to because I'm expecting it to only keep duplicate rows. Okay, keep duplicates now, and let's see. Yes, okay, there are no duplicate rows. Okay, Now, let me explain that. What I did before was I clicked on order ID and I said keep duplicates. Okay. Now, because I've highlighted order ID and there are duplicates within that column, it's kept all of the duplicates. Okay. So this is highlighted. I'm saying keep the duplicates, and it's actually keeping the duplicates. Okay. Now the duplicates it has kept are just duplicates within this column. Okay. But when we look across board by row, okay, for example, row 1, the order ID is 10248. The product ID is 11. Unit price is 14. Quantity is 12. Discount is 0. Then we come to row number 2. Order ID is the same as the top one, 10248. But the product ID changed, 42. So at a row level, these two rows are not duplicates. They are not repeated because products is different, unit price is different. But had it been, let me see if I can copy this first row and make a duplicate of it. I don't think I can.
If you right click on the number 1 row, will you know what are the options it brings? So it doesn't work here.
It's not bringing any. Yeah, that's what I was trying to do. I want you to duplicate number 1 row, all of number 1 row, so that we see how duplicate rows actually work. So, but I can't seem to get that done. I'm sure there's how to do it somewhere there. You know, I just can't figure that out just yet. Okay. But had it been that as we have order ID as 10248, product ID as 11, we also have product ID as 11 here. We have 14 as the unit price. Had it been, we also have 14 at the bottom. Quantity as 12. We also have quantity as 12 there. Discount as 0. We also have discount as 0. So let's say everything on top here is exactly how we have it as number 2. That would mean that the row is number 1 is duplicated. That is, it's exactly everything in each column is exactly the same in row 2. And we can't afford to have that. So if
is there a sort option in Power BI?
Is there what?
A sort option.
For each row, yes. Can you see sort ascending or sort descending? Okay. It depends on which column you are sorting. Okay. Yeah.
No, I wanted to sort for a row.
How do you mean?
Is there a way to sort for rows? Oh, yeah. Sorry. We can only sort by column. Thank you.
Yes, because when you sort the columns, every other thing will
align
anyway. Yeah. Okay. So, but that's what we find within the reduced row column. The different things that you keep. Let me remove this kept duplicate here. Okay. You may want to find if there are errors somewhere and you say keep errors, but we see that there is no errors, you see. So those functions are there just for you to also do some checks. Okay. So as we have keep everything, we also have remove the same things. Remove top rows, remove bottom rows, remove alternates rows, remove duplicates, remove blank rows. If all of the rows are blank, remove them, remove errors. It works the same way. Okay, and then apart from having your sort functions here, you also have them here. Okay, so you can just click on any one and sort either descending or ascending. Okay, and you can decide, and you can see the arrow showing that this has been sorted in descending order. Okay, and you can decide to clear that sort and return to the original arrangement within there as well. Okay, now I'm explaining along because we never got to record when I explained this part before. Okay, but actually where we are heading towards in the end is the combined section. Okay, but before we get there, split column. Okay, let me see, is there any of the columns here that we could split? Okay, let's take this for an example. Description. Okay, if you look at the description here, it says soft drinks, comma, coffees, comma, teas, commas, comma, beers, and ales. Okay. And then we have sweet and savory sauces, relishes or relishes, spreads and seasonings, and so on. So there are commas here that we can use to split each of the words that we have here. Let's say we need to split this particular column into each of the words where there's a comma. Okay, that's when you use the split columns, like the word, the phrase, it says split this column. Okay, and you can see that the icon there is like it's splitting a column into two. Okay, now if I go on split column, it says separate elements of a column into multiple columns. I click on this arrow and it's telling us we can split by delimiter. That is by a kind of all these commas or space or semicolon or column. Those are the column. Those are the delimiters that he's talking about here. And you can split by number of characters. Let's say you have a date. Let's go into our dates table and assume that you just want to get out the first two letters of these dates, you know, and the day number is 01, 02. You just need those particular numbers in another column. Okay, and all of the first two would work anyway. You have 01 to maximum 31st of a month. Those are the first two letters. Okay, so if you are splitting, you need to do that. You can easily say by number of characters. Okay, and if you click on number of characters, you state the number of characters I want is 2. Okay, and it's asking you where the split should happen here. Should it be once as far left as possible? Should I just split from the left and that's it? Should I just split from the far right and that's it? Or should I split repeatedly? Whatever you state, repeatedly, I should split all of them into 2, 2, 2. Is that what you are saying? Since all I want is the first two, 0, 1, 0, 2, you know, I will say once as far left, because this is far left as possible, you know. So if I okay that, you see what it has done? It has taken that date column and taken out the 01, 02, and left us with just the month and the year. Okay, so that's how you use that particular function. But if we go back to where we were gonna split this by delimiter. Okay, and apart from delimiter, you can split by position. Maybe you've got a constant position of where you want your characters to come out from. You can split by lowercase to uppercase, you know. So if you have lowercase to uppercase within your columns, and that's how it's all been arranged, or uppercase to lowercase, digits to non-digits. Maybe you have number and words together, and you want to split them. Non-digits to digits, you know, the same thing, whichever one comes first of the numbers and the text. Okay, you can split by that. The most common split we do use, though, like you have in Excel, is by delimiter. And I'm doing that because I can see there are commas here. So it says specify the delimiter that you want to use to split this text column. Okay, I know I want my comma. It's going to put space. Okay, again, you look at let's look at this well. As a matter of fact, if I use space, it might still work. Okay, because I've got comma and space, comma and space, comma and space. Okay, it's just that then the comma would follow this soft drink. Okay, so let's let's explore all the options and see. I want to use comma, okay? And it's asking me, should it be at leftmost like we saw earlier? Is it just the leftmost delimiter, only this one here, or the rightmost, only the one here, or each occurrence? Now I want to split each occurrence. That is, split everywhere you see a comma, just split. Okay, that's the meaning of each occurrence. And then we have an advanced option here. It says split into columns. Do I want to split into columns like that, or do I want to split into rows? Number of columns to split into. Okay, I think it has seen that the highest number there could be 5. Okay, that's why that 5 is there. It's not just there by default. Okay, so I'm not going to necessarily change that. Okay, because I don't want to split into rows. I want to split into columns. Split into rows is that all the splits that it does here, then I'll have soft drink on top, coffee below, teas below that, beers below that. I think we should actually do everything and see. Okay, but let's do the split into columns first. So I'm going to okay this and we'll look at the result. Can you see the result? Soft drink was the first, coffee next, and then tea, and then all of that. Where we have, we didn't have a comma between these two. We had and. So those two could not be split more than that. Okay. Well, it's done exactly what we have asked it, to do. And that's the result of that. Okay. But let's say I want to go back and it's given the right data type. That's what the second part is. Let's go back and decide, okay, I don't want to split into columns. I want it to split into rows. Okay, so rather than have coffee as another column, I want coffee to be exactly below soft drinks, teas below that coffee, and so on. That's what this would do. Okay, so we have that and we okay. And here we have it. Okay, so it's gone on to put the right category ID. Category name is beverages for them. And each one, soft drink, coffee, tea, beer, and so on. It's done it in a nice fashion for us. Now, what you are aiming for to get out of this at the end of the day would determine which option you use. Remember, this was not part of what we wanted to do for this table. Okay, because
Sorry.
yeah.
Sorry, I think I don't know the last bit. I understood when it's splitted into columns, but when it's splitting into rows now, it's like it went into another sheet.
Okay.
Are we still? I don't get.
So when it's split into columns,
yeah,
this happened straightforward.
Yes.
But now I'm saying don't split them into columns. I want each one of these, like coffee and teas and beers and ales, rather than being on separate columns. I want them to still come under the same column.
Okay.
So remember that what we have here, we have category 1, beverages, soft drinks, and all of those. But right now, when we now split and set rows, it just kept adding these ones rather than as columns. It kept adding them under here as rows.
Okay.
That's why you now have another one under here. Then beverages repeated, another until
we finished everything on
everything. Yeah. So which means we now have one repeated, beverages repeated, because all of these are now coming under soft drink as another row, another row, another row. Let's see that again.
Sorry, I have a question.
Yes, please.
Okay, so if you split by rows, it will go ahead to increase the number of rows for that particular column.
Yes.
And distorting the entire table itself.
Yes. Okay. That's right. Because our aim is to keep this as unique, category ID as unique. But right now, the category ID is repeated. So which means the structure of this table will not work for what we need. Do you understand? I just needed to show you that as a byproduct of how splitting the columns work. This is not what we are aiming for anyway, for our own work.
Okay, thank you. You're welcome.
So let's return to this is how we want this to be, okay? We just use that to show how the different ways you can split your column can work. And it's good to know that these things exist because you just never know what you will come across at any point in your data journey and what sort of manipulations you might need to do. But just knowing that it's there to use, it always helps. Okay. And
sorry.
then yes.
Sorry, another question. Can we customize that split?
How do you mean?
Okay, if you go onto, yes, if you go onto there, like on here, on the first row, you can see we have and. Can we give it, can we customize to say, okay, split by using and?
Oh, you can, we can. I'm just gonna custom. We say custom.
Custom, yes, okay, yes, that's okay, that's what I wanted.
Yeah, we can definitely. And you see where it found and it just splits by and. The others didn't have any and it didn't touch them. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. And we have group by. We will should I let me see if I can find somewhere where we can group by. Now we can use group by. Let's say other details. Let's say I want to group our product ID by quantity or the other way around, however that English works. Okay, let's say I click on this and I say I want to group by, I want to group product ID by, it's going to create a new column name and is asking us, I'll leave this as just group by. Again, we don't need this in our actual work. I just want to show us how this works. Group by, and it's asking for operation. What operation do we need? Do you want to just count how many rows of how many rows we have here, or you want to sum, or you want to average? I want to sum the quantity, this quantity here by the products. Okay, I want to see how many quantities for each product rather than have it repeated like this. So I'll say the column is quantity, product ID group by sum quantity. Let's see how that turns out. I'll okay that, and that changes things for us. Okay, so what this information is saying is that product ID number 11, the total quantities we have in our data set that was bought is 706. So it's gone into the data set. Let's go up one step. It's gone into the data set, and for each product, it's gone on to sum up, you know, product. It's looked for product 11. Let me start with 11. And let's look at all the quantities. There's quite a lot of it. This is all called product 11. If we sum up all of the quantities of product 11 that was bought. So what this is telling us is that all of the, delete that step, all of the product 11 summed up to 760 in quantity that was bought. Okay. And then products that got ID 42, 697 quantities of it was bought. Okay. It's a shame that the way this table has been made, we only see the ID. So far, we haven't, okay, we can go into the product table, product ID 11 in products table. 11 would be this, the product name, however that is pronounced. Is it Kiso Cab Rails? I'm sure I said it the wrong way, but you get what I mean. So this particular product, according to what we have in the other details, when we did the group by, the quantity of it that was bought was 706. And that's one way to analyze your data as well. You can just close and just go on to do a chart, you know, straight on for this table. Okay. But I just thought to show us that that's not intended for, I've just deleted that step. But that's how the group by works, okay? Then, and all of that is under transform. The split is under transform. Group by is under transform. We have seen how replace values work. Use first row as header. Let's quickly demonstrate this, okay? Sometimes, I don't think Power BI does that anymore. Sometimes when you bring your data in, it would be that, let's use header as first row. Okay, it will come on the, it will come in this form. What is supposed to be your header it falls in row 1, and all the column, the actual headers would appear as column 1, column 2, column 3, column 4, column 5. And you are looking for a way to promote the headers up. That is when you use this function. Use first row as header. That is, this first row is the column, they are the column headers. Promote them back to their position. Okay, you can do that either you do that here or you do it at this corner here. Okay, use first row as header. You see how that is promoted back. And if you want to demote the header for whatever reason back to row 1, exactly what I did. You have both of them here. Use header as first row. That is, this my header. Place it as row number 1. You want to return it to the original, use first row as header. Okay, so anytime you bring Power BI data into Power BI, it does that. You just promote the header straight by using the first row as header, either on this corner here. You see all of these functions are also here. All of them, whatever you find here, most of the time you would find here, or you will find by right-clicking on each on each column rather. Okay, and then we came to the combine. And in previous class, we have seen how to combine all our queries. We brought some sales table in, three of them, and we added one on top of the other, like placing a table, actual physical table, on top of the other table, on top of the other table, to make them become higher. Okay. Now there are 2 types of combine. Append was that you are adding each row, stacking each row on top of the others to increase the number of rows. Okay. But merge query is that you are adding 2 tables or more together to increase the number of columns. Okay. Remember when we came here, and we saw how this, if you expand this table, we saw how we expanded this table and the number of, and the number of columns increased. Can you see the number of, it brought all of those columns in and increased the number of columns from just the 5 that we had. Okay, I'll remove that. That was just for illustration purpose. The same way, when you merged your table, when you merge 2 tables, you are bringing in the columns that you need from the other one. Originally, we said this is our others table, but we have more details on here. And the more details we have here are product ID, all the product information, the product ID, the unit price, the quantity, and the discount. We need them on this table, not necessarily separated as we currently have. Okay, we don't need to bring the other ID in because we have the other ID already here. However, to merge these 2, to combine these 2 together, we are going to communicate, those 2 tables are going to communicate with each other using the other ID. Let's see how that is done. So this will be my first table because it's the original table, and I'm just adding contents from here onto here. Okay, so just give me a few minutes more and I'll round up. Okay, so I come onto the merge queries here. Remember, it's all combined. Merge queries, and I click on there, and I have 2 options. Merge queries, that is just add that on top of that, or merge query as new, that is create another query entirely separate from these 2. Okay, I don't want to merge query as new because then I'll be increasing the size of my Power BI. Sometimes that's what you need to do. In this case, I don't want to do that. I just want to bring that other details content into my one that I have now, not create a third one, a third table. Okay, so I click on this and it brings this. It says merge. Select a table and matching columns to create a merged table. Okay, which table do I want to select? It's already selected the one we started with, which is the orders. That's the one on top of here. Now, I need the other details. And you see, it's telling us that the current one we have is the orders. So I need the other details. Okay. Now, for me to be able to merge these two, what is the common column? What column is common to both of them? It is definitely the order ID. So I click on the order ID for both of them and see, it says the selection matches 830 out of 830 rows from the first table. That is all the order ID that's on here. It can find it on here already as well. None is missing. And it's ticked it as green for us. There's something else which we won't dwell on too much today. It says join kind. Because we are joining these two tables, that's the meaning of combine, join them. So there are different types of joins that we could have. The one that is automatically picked for us is called left outer join. That is the first table, we're seeing it as table that's on the left. Okay. It was going to bring in everything from this table and only the matching ones where it can find a match on the second table. So it says left outer in bracket is all from first table. That is, I'm bringing everything from first table and only the matching one from the second table. Okay. And thankfully, everything matches anyway. So that's good for us. So I'm going to click on OK. And it brings the whole orders table in, just like we have seen on table within table from when we brought in data before. So the whole of these other details we have here is being brought in as a whole table. Can you see table, 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 table? Okay, but we need to now expand. So if I click on these opposite facing arrows, I click on that, it will give me options. Says these are the columns that we have within this table. Which one do you want? Do you want to bring all? Now, I don't need to bring all because order ID is already present. So any information I already have in my table, there's no need to bring it in anymore. We already have order ID. I'm not bringing it in. But we need product ID. We need unit quantity. We need the quantity, the unit price, the quantity, and then the discount. And I'm going to untick this because I don't want it to complicate the name of these columns I'm bringing in. Okay, and I'll okay that. And now we have more columns. Okay, before we brought the table in, when we were on this stage, if you follow my cursor, we had 12 columns. At the bottom here, it says 12 columns, 830 rows. Okay, it's profiling based on the first top 1,000 rows, 12 columns. By the time I expanded this table, we now have 16 columns. That we've added 4 more columns. And that's why we said, when you merge, you increase the number of columns. But when you append, you increase the number of rows. Okay, that may all seem confusing at the moment, but the more we do it, you can't get everything all just in one class or just in a week's class, to be honest. It has to be repeatedly done, for us to be able to get it all sinking in the end. I'll change this to percentage for, where's percentage? For discount, okay? Yes, and the rest are fine. So now we have product ID. We have all the product information, all within one table. So we can disable this. Since everything we need from here has been brought into here, I'm going to right click on that and uncheck this, enable load. Enable load means when we close this Power Query, bring this table along. But this time around, I won't check it because I don't want it to be brought in. Okay. And I don't want it to be brought in because everything I need from it has already been added here. There is no need to duplicate tables that I'm bringing in. That's why this has to be left behind when we close and apply. Okay. So far today, we had a recap of how we brought data in, the data that we brought in. We had a look at all of the buttons, almost all, under home. We saw a few of them in action, okay, which is great. And we have learned how to merge two tables together today. Before, we did append, we learned how to append queries. Today, we merged queries. We may look at how to, because we saw the first option, merge queries. We may look at merge query as new, how that works. It's the same thing. It's just that rather than have everything within this, I'm creating another table, okay? I'm leaving these two and creating the answer as a new table. In this case, it wasn't necessary, but we will see it as something to just physically see, because sometimes seeing is learning, as well. Okay. And what we are left with this table is just to, check on the other tables just to be sure that we don't need to remove anything and, deal with any missing tables that we might find along the way. That we will do tomorrow. And hopefully by the end of the week, we'll be ready to create our data model and see how that works. When all of this is done, I'm going to close and apply for now. And you would notice one thing. The other details that I disabled, I removed the enable load on, will not be brought into this part of Power BI. Let's wait for it to finish loading. Okay. So if you look at under data, the tables, we only have the orders. We don't have the other details anymore. And if I check the table view for our orders, okay, actually, if we start with categories, we see that's how we want it to be like. I don't know if we have dealt with customers yet, but I know we have done employees, okay. Orders table, the columns we brought in from the other table, all the products information, are there. And by tomorrow, by God's grace, we'll have a look at the rest, see what needs cleaning, and we can move on to answer the questions that were dropped on our chats, the SoftNet data chat. Is there any question at all from what we've done today? Any question? Anything that looks like an abracadabra